usually all these people are like, listen, I could have had it all and I fucked up. Don't be like me. Don't do like I did. But this dude was got up there and he literally was like, be like me. Do what I did. I crushed it. I'm awesome. I made straight A's at school. I never smoked crack. I never did any of this stuff. My wife's hot. My Jeep hits. Be like me, right? Like, literally, I'm not kidding. He spent 10 minutes. He probably spent 10 minutes talking about how kick-ass his Jeep was. I'm not making that up.
They're the liberal rednecks. They like cornbread and butt sex. They care way too much but don't give a fuck. They're the liberal rednecks that makes some people upset, but they got 3 big old dicks that you can suck.
Y'all, no matter how you're approaching 2024, electric e-bikes can help you go the distance. From commuters to adventurers, riders of all abilities can explore this new year with electric e-bikes. Explore 2024 with electric e-bikes, the most accessible and adventurous e-bikes ever. Visit electricebikes.com to learn more, and be sure to mention that the WellRED podcast sent you in their post-checkout survey. That's LECTRIC ebikes.com. Tell them WellRED sent you. All right, well, here we are. How y'all's doing?
Great. You like my glasses?
Yeah, I do like your glasses.
I don't believe you. You looked away when you said
I like them.
They're
Wonderwall.
Yeah, well, Wonderwall.
These are Andy's glasses. They were in her car. I decided to put them on because I have a new goal. I want to get called a douchebag by one of our fans once a quarter.
Yeah, right.
Oh, well, buddy, I just
wearing?
haven't sent you the emails.
Yeah, but
So you think I can do monthly?
Holding those to himself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's a great bit you just did, but there's a 0% chance you got hate mail about me and you didn't show me or him.
Hey,
That is correct.
do y'all think you're going to listen? Do you think you will hear the song Dreams and Nightmares by Meek Mill any differently after finding out that he's been routinely
porked in the butt
by Puff Daddy, by Diddy? That is the word on the street, isn't it? I know it. I knew it was Pete diddled him. Yeah, he got Pete diddled. I know it was a rumor for a while that he vehemently denied in a very much like he doth protest too much type of way, in my opinion. But then, like today, people are acting like it's been confirmed. There was that. I saw people on Twitter share it's like this is an audio clip.
That was rough, dude.
Of them porking.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I was like, yeah, I'll listen to that at 9:30 in the morning, dude. But I did, and I didn't hear any identifying factors. It's like I texted y'all.
Pretty sure it was a black guy.
It's not like you could. It definitely sounds like two black dudes having sex with each other.
I've never heard a white guy hit the N-word.
DJ Khaled had been one of them, you could tell it was him, but unfortunately he wasn't.
No white guy could hit the N-word the way they were hitting it.
But like I didn't hear anybody going, take that or anything. So it's like hard to identify either P Diddy or Meek Mill in it. But what's the? I mean,
real quick, I want to say you sent that.
Yeah. And
I'm so stupid. I was like, all right, I got to hear this, and open that at a coffee shop.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's like it's definitely, as the kids say, cheeks getting clapped.
All over no headphones, trying to like do it quiet, and then a few people looked at me, so I like put the phone down and scrolled away, and then in the comments was just like massive amounts of pornographic gifs. Do we settle on what we're calling those?
Pussy in bio.
There's massive amounts of like, this is Meek Mill and P Diddy, and it's just a giant black dick butt fucking somebody.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm trying to scroll away from that. So I almost threw my phone. Anyway, sorry.
What is the story? Cause I'm not gonna lie.
I put it was my replies.
Meek Mill, I thought had some absolute bangers there for a while. I mean, Dreams and Nightmares was rad. That was like the official song of the Philadelphia Eagles Cinderella Super Bowl run with Nick Foles and them, because he's a Philly guy.
Yeah, Meek Mill, great.
That's what I'm saying. So is the conceit?
Yeah, gay people can. They're creative.
That's not what I mean. Because he's not supposed to be gay, right?
I think the idea is like
the conceit that
he Harvey Weinsteined it.
Exactly,
which is rape.
Oh. And I'm saying that's kind of weird to me, because I always thought like, oh, this dude hits. Like, you would think that somebody who had to do that. Because ostensibly,
how you gonna be so boastful after you take it in the butt?
No, that too. But what I mean is like, typically, if someone has to resort to that type of thing, they don't really hit that hard, correct?
Right.
Like, isn't that the stereotype or whatever? Because I'm saying Meek Mill's like really good in my opinion.
Right, but man, I mean,
that's
dude,
how competitive it is. It's
I
just
think
like
so.
even
I mean,
when you hit real hard, you still have to do that.
Think about how many fewer comedians there are than rappers. And I can think of like 4 people off the top of my head who I don't think are getting their shine in the comedy game. So
Yeah.
if there's probably 400 rappers like that, and
Right.
and
That's a
also
good point.
and also you might not know how hard you hit at the age that you're susceptible to believing that you have to do that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? The way I said that?
Was he? So
Yes.
was he underage when this happened? Allegedly.
Oh, I don't know.
No, I
I
don't know
just
about
mean
that part.
like when you're young and you don't have
Also-
a platinum record yet. It's
Yeah.
like you're told this is how this works.
Can we be sued for just talking? We're just reporting the news here, right?
Just say allegedly.
These are the
these are what
rumors.
people are saying. We're not saying it happened.
Buddy, if Meek Mill sued us, do you know how good for us that would be?
that is true. Yeah,
I mean, it
except
might-
for the maybe getting raked in court part. I mean, I know you a lawyer, but you know
I mean, so
and
far.
dusted by his homies.
that also would not hit.
That I don't
I do
like.
not desire being dusted.
Well,
by
I want to be
anyone's
very
homies.
clear. The way that the accusations have flowed so far, I'm firmly in the Meek Mill camp.
Yeah.
In terms of
For
like,
sure.
he's
Yeah, he's
clearly
the
a victim of some sort.
Right. Yes.
My buddy Eagle Witt, great New York comedian, already has. Eagle's so great at this where there's like a black culture moment. He's got a clip the next day that's fire. And the basis of this particular clip and joke that he put out is like, hey, you guys remember a few days ago when we found out Meek Mill got raped? And we were all like, damn, Meek Mill gay?
Yeah.
And just how fucked up
Right.
that is.
Right.
Yeah.
That is sort of how it got treated.
Well, we just sort of fell into that a little bit, not in a like screw you because you're gay, but we just sort of felt like I think the accusation that's out there is like he just did it to get ahead.
Well, that's kind of why I was asking
well,
the question about the song, like, because I think, I mean, I got like 3 of his songs on my workout playlist. or
Isn't there
whatever.
one
I
where
don't
he
think
shouts out like "Forgive me for what I did with Diddy"?
I don't know that song, but I did hear that clip. People were sharing that
Right.
clip,
And I think everyone thought back then it was like, oh yeah, you did some songs with Diddy
That didn't hit.
hit.
Right. Yeah, but no,
Like you sold out. Forgive me for selling out.
Yeah.
Is what people thought that meant.
no, because I
I'm
wasn't
trying
trying
to
to
sell
just like roast him.
Yeah. Do you now know what it means to sell out, Corey?
Yeah,
I
wanted to add.
Look,
You want to get fucked
I'm
in the
not
butt?
defending the Harvey Weinsteins and P Diddy's of the world. I'm just saying
You're
if I
willing.
knew that in the blip of a butt fuck I could get my shit paid off, yeah, I'd probably do it.
In the blip of a butt fuck.
in the blip of a butt fuck. I mean,
Joe Rogan,
I don't know,
in
man.
my opinion, his best joke, as far as his stand-up goes, is about Weinstein, and it's that very joke. What he says is, if Harvey Weinstein did that to my daughter, I'd beat him to death with his own fucking arms.
Yep.
But my son, congratulations, buddy, you're Batman. That's a good line.
Yeah, and again, like obviously those people are horrible. I'm just saying in a genie scenario where the genie's like, I'll give you everything you want, but unlike most genies, you've got to get butt fucked before you get the wish. I'd be like, all right.
I don't think what I want in my heart
unlike most genies,
is big enough.
you rub a bottle and genie comes out and he starts laying out the parameters, and then that part comes up. He's like, so listen, hear me out on this next part.
I'm from a
Works
different.
a little differently.
I'm from a different region of Genie Land.
Yeah, right.
My family were poor genies. This is the best we can do.
And
dude.
then you do it, and then you find out it was just like some Middle Eastern pimp from Miami with a
smoke bomb.
Yeah, with a smoke bomb. Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, it's like that wasn't a genie.
Yeah. That wasn't Puff Daddy. Some black guy fucks Corey in the butt.
Yeah, he gets
no, my
record
name's
deal
Rough
for it.
Daddy.
Yeah, right.
Rough Daddy.
Oh,
I
man.
make porn. I said I'd put you in porn.
Oh, that would be rough.
We filmed all this.
Yeah, Puff Daddy was the first CD I ever bought with my own money. Puff Daddy and the Bad Boy Family, No Way Out.
Was that the one
So it
that
was
had
called.
Every Step You Take?
1996.
When
Yep,
Big died?
it was.
Yeah, nobody could blame me for that, dude.
But dude, it had some bangers on
Yeah.
it. And what I didn't realize at 10, that of course everyone knows about Puff Daddy now, but I remember listening to that and being like, God damn, this dude's incredible, right? And then my dad heard some of it and he was like, that's just the Police, that's just Grandmaster Flash or whatever. Like every single song
Yeah, he
on
paid
there
for him.
Right. Like, we
He's
all
a
know
different kind of incredible.
We all know that rap samples shit, but like, Corey follows this Instagram account. He'll send me stuff sometimes. Some of the samples they do is its own type of artistic genius. They take one little piece of a song, lay it down, flip it and reverse it literally or whatever, and slow it down, really slow, and you can't even tell it comes from that song anymore, but it sounds rad as hell and it's super cool. But like, dude, Diddy though, he was just like putting raps over existing songs essentially. But I didn't know any of those songs.
His getting 10. Away with it, both musically and apparently in the bedroom, is his talent.
I saw Mace too talk about, because Mace, dude, when Mace came out with Harlem World in 1998, me and Thompson were fully on board with that dude immediately. That's one of the biggest fall-offs in all of rap, and also one of the most egregious examples of the Lord ruining a person, although in retrospect maybe it wasn't the Lord. The story at the time was Mace, one of the best debuts of all time, Harlem World, top to bottom bangers. That's one of the best rap albums of the 90s in my opinion. Rules, highly anticipated follow-up. It was called Double Up. Didn't really hit that hard. People were like, what's going on with Mace? And he vanished after that because he found the Lord and started preaching. Massively disappointing. But I saw him on a podcast this morning laughing his ass off about all this Diddy shit,
right?
And talking about how like justice at last, he was like reparations and shit or whatever, and he was like, and he was saying,
I don't think he happened to him.
Diddy wasn't big enough.
Diddy wasn't big enough. Point. He wanted to. Do you know what I'm saying? I think he saw it. And
I don't know, dude.
You think Diddy was big enough to promise that shit?
In the
hell
90s? Yeah.
All right.
I feel like that was the height of his, maybe not the height of his mogulness, but like the beginning of his peak of mogultry was the late 90s.
I like that sentence more than I like the idea of getting butt fucked by Puff Daddy. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
That's the stance I'm taking.
Wonder how he was on
that
set
don't hit.
Of them movies.
Add it to the list.
Remember, he did some movies and he was funny as hell in that Get Him to the Greek or whatever. Y'all remember that movie?
I mean, he's a psychopath. A lot of them are pretty funny.
And he's like, how many Jordans 6 black kids wear? Talking about how much money he needs to make to cover his nut or whatever. He was funny in that movie.
I mean, Kevin Spacey is one of the greatest actors of all times and impressionist who was funny as hell.
I mean, Weinstein clearly had some sort of talent, as did Diddy.
Yeah, Weinstein.
Cosby, bro,
was wild.
Look, I think there's like a thing going on when we end up discussing people like this. There are untalented, evil people.
I know,
but they can't do it to scale.
I was just trying to think of like a. Okay,
does that make sense?
Because they can't. Because I was just trying to think about like, I wonder what a talentless rapist or abuser thinks about those guys.
Pure jealous.
You know what I mean? Like, it's why I don't know what I'm trying to say. They have that one thing in common, right?
And nothing else.
But then some of these dudes are like, running the world, and another guy's just behind the bowling alley.
Do you think they try to run the world in order to get away with stuff, or do you think?
Right.
I was thinking about this morning, and here was my theory. I'll just lay mine out, and then you guys can give me yours or poke holes in mine. I think that a lot of people try to become super powerful so that they can do whatever they want. Mm-hmm. Like that's a part of the appeal. And then once they start to get there, whatever they want changes because it's not exciting to do the thing that they've already been doing. Like maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like early on, Weinstein just wanted to fuck chicks who were hot and young.
Yeah.
Then he wanted to fuck chicks who were hot and young, and and eventually it was like, no, I want to fuck the famous hot young chicks who have to fuck me to get the role. Like, do you know what I mean? But no, maybe it's like that's what their goal from the beginning, so they get in that position of power. I'm not sure.
It's wild to have that. Yeah,
it's a real chicken or egg thing.
Yeah, dude.
Me.
Yeah,
like
that's my thing with the Epstein Island thing.
Like it's like
do they all want to fuck kids? There ain't no way.
You know what I mean? Like you ask like somebody's getting into Hollywood or whatever. It's like are you doing this because you love it? Or are you doing it to be famous? Or are you doing it because you want money? Because if it's any of the other two things, then you probably I wouldn't advise it because you got to love it. Whatever. That's the type of shit you hear all the time. But it's wild for that person to be like, no, I'm doing it because I want to rule. I want to be able to. I want to abuse everyone at my leisure and do whatever I want without any recompense whatsoever. Like that's why I'm doing it. It's like that's a little. That one don't ever get mentioned as much as the other three motivations.
Right.
But clearly it must happen though.
Here's my theory that I just came up with. The way you phrased that was nice. Is this life attracts most people?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who would want to be in Hollywood, making movies, being a storyteller. That's appealing to a large group of people. Let's say 60 to 70% of the world. And then you have to have a certain type of ego to think you could do it, to like actually get into it, to like risk poverty or whatever. And it's like you keep narrowing it down, and then when you get to the point of people who are successful, now you've just found sickos. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like a fuck ton of people want to be comedians or actors or writers or directors. It's powerful, it's sexy, it's cool. And then like inside that group, the people who actually make it is a lot of psychopaths. Because they're just better at anything they try. There's psychopaths on Wall Street. There's psychopaths, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but why? Isn't it on Wall Street and stuff, it's because like I guess it applies to Hollywood too. They're just completely willing to fuck anything over anybody else or do anything it takes to further their own ends.
Right. And these people just happen, their ends just happen to be, I want to be famous. In DC, their ends happen to be, I want to like control things. And in Wall Street, I just want money.
Yeah, it is wild.
I just wanted to remind everybody, catch everybody up. I've got the list here just in case people had forgotten. Genocide, 9/11, Hitler, and now getting butt fucked by P Diddy. Don't hit.
Nope. Those things do not hit.
They don't hit. You heard it here first.
You did. That's right.
You probably did hear it here first. It's probably the only people who put that list together and then said don't hit.
So, speaking of motivation, there was something I thought of for the first time in years recently that I wanted to run by y'all and see if, A, you especially, Drew, if you ever encountered this guy, and B, what y'all think about this. It's something from my childhood that I hadn't thought about since then, basically, and then remembered it recently, and I was like, that's weird and funny to me. So first of all, did y'all have motivational speakers come to your school, or you go on like conferences or field trips?
Yes.
You ever see like motivational speakers meant for school children, right?
High school, I saw
that was a thing.
One, yeah.
And the
Really?
powerlifting
We had at
guys,
least-
they count.
Oh, those guys count, yeah.
We had at least 3 or 4
power
like,
lifters.
No, I didn't have the power lifters. Y'all had the ones that y'all had power lifters.
They like ripped a phone book in half, and then I'm pretty sure they liked Jesus.
I was going to ask. If
They were super
See,
Jesus-y. So I was actually just thinking about them the other day because they would come to our school. They were like, they all had like blonde hair and were ripped and like clearly all wanted to be wrestlers or something but didn't make it. And dude, when Lex do what?
That's where the Righteous Gemstones got that from.
Oh,
huh?
confirmed.
Yeah. We didn't have those. They didn't make it to Salina on the circuit, I guess, because I didn't know that was a real thing. I mean, I'm not surprised it's a real thing. I just never encountered those people.
Freetown.
Yeah, well, the story goes that like Lex Luger, like towards the height of his like WCW fame or whatever, they had like gotten him, they claimed that they had gotten him to go on like a tour with him or whatever, and they promoted all this shit like, we've got Lex Luger, he's a super Christian or whatever, and this is all allegedly, but then like Lex Luger just like fucking didn't go at all, and it was just calamity, and everybody was pissed and just had to sit through the mediocre, like Drew said, power lifters who were ripping phone books in half somehow in the name of Christ our Savior.
There's a fat guy on the internet who's doing feats of strength for the Lord now, and he's not even ripped. He is very strong.
The strongest people on earth are not ripped.
Right, but this guy's not.
I mean, they're huge, but they're not ripped, though.
How do I need to explain what I'm trying to get at, though? This dude, like, was just at church one day and decided to do this, and then they started filming him and putting it out, and it's gone viral because it's so hilarious. He doesn't tour. This is for the. This is
love
an
of the
indie.
game.
This is an
He's
indie
tearing
artist.
phone books apart for love of the game.
Yeah, he like rips chains.
Yeah, that's wild.
Picks up motors.
So we had, and maybe it's because we were more at risk or something. We had multiple instances of this. Like one guy, but I thought of this recently because I was talking to our buddy Donnie Sangstack about it. He was talking about how where he went to school in Maryland, they had a bunch of these motivational speakers, and he was talking about a couple he had. Katie's told me before about like a Jesus-y cowboy singer guy that they had come through. She was like, you didn't know that guy? You didn't have that guy? And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But anyway,
that sounds familiar.
It's a thing.
I've separated motivational speakers and Jesus speakers in my brain, and maybe I should.
The ones I'm talking about are not Jesus-y.
Okay.
Like, there's 2 I remember. One of them was like don't drive drunk was his message. And he was a former Tennessee Highway Patrolman. Don't hit. Right.
Boo.
Who had a teenage son who was an honor student and had an Ivy League opportunity, all this stuff, whatever, went to a high school party, got drunk, wrecked his truck and died, right? So
Well,
it's
that
like,
don't hit.
so it's like, no, it don't hit, but it's like this kid had his whole was crushing it, fucked up, made his mistake. Don't drink and drive, kids. The other one was a guy, and I don't remember. Mark probably had this dude's jersey or something because he played for the Dallas Cowboys in the '90s, right, when they hit real hard. But he wasn't one of the stars, obviously. None of the stars came to fucking Salina. Michael Irvin didn't come to Salina, but he was like on the team in the '90s when they were hitting real hard and winning Super Bowls. And his story was like, I had a shot. I was a backup. Then the guy in front of him left. He was a training camp or whatever, and he was going to get to start, and they were really good, and his dream was coming true. But he also got addicted to cocaine. Probably got it from Michael Irvin, I would imagine, but or just
Bill Bates.
all of them at the time. But he got hooked on cocaine. Bill Bates, is that a guy that?
Yeah.
He's a legend, though.
I'm just asking.
No, this guy was not. Again, dude, he was at Salina High School, like. He didn't.
Right.
He may not have even really played for the Cowboys, but this was the story.
Right.
This was the story. And anyway, he was hooked on cocaine. He got strung out on drugs, blew his shot. Now he's, then he went broke, ended up in rehab, whatever. He could have been a superstar. He fucked it all up, right? They were usually like that. That's very par for the course. But there was another guy.
Okay.
And I saw this guy at a Beta Club convention, I think. And that's why I'm wondering if you saw him too. And this dude looked like he was. I'm trying to think of someone to compare him to. He looked like a background character in The Office or something, or like he was not an immediately impressive dude. He looked like he had an accountant sort of vibe or whatever, but he was extremely confident and assertive. And his whole thing was like, usually all these people are like, listen, I could have had it all and I fucked up. Don't be like me. Don't do like I did. But this dude was got up there and he literally was like, be like me. Do what I did. I crushed it. I'm awesome. I made straight
Hell
A's
yeah.
at school. I never smoked crack. I never did any of this stuff. My wife's hot. My Jeep hits. Be like me, right? Like, literally, I'm not kidding. He spent 10 minutes. He probably spent 10 minutes talking about how kick-ass his Jeep was. I'm not making that up.
Did he also?
He had it lifted up. Hey, he's like doing a slideshow showing us pictures of it, climbing rocks and stuff. He's like,
I want to do
That's
this.
just saying,
I know, it's
Corey.
right.
This is
Yeah,
Corey.
right, I know.
Did
I
he
know.
have like a career to point to outside of telling kids
Not-
how much he hits?
Not that I recall. It
That's hilarious.
I know. That's what I'm saying. It's so funny, right? Like, I hadn't thought about that guy in 20 years, and I was talking to Donnie, and I remembered him, and I was like, dude, that's fucking hilarious.
That's so funny.
And I don't know. I want to write that into a movie or a show or something, or do a character. Me and Donnie were talking about how
A
like
short film at least.
that would make a good. I think that like the motivational speaker circuit would make good fodder for a movie or a show or something because
Isn't that part of Magnolia?
well, I mean, yeah. Well, Tom Cruise, he's more like the precursor to like these alpha male boot camp shits
Right.
that are a thing now. But
Well, Tony Robbins is one of
Dude,
those
please write a
dudes.
sketch and let me play that guy.
yeah, dude, is that not? So A, you don't know I'm talking. You never saw that guy at the Beta convention. or
No,
whatever.
I got a Beta convention story for you.
But
no.
B, that's fucking hilarious.
That's
Only
so
went to Alpha
funny.
convention.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not changing the subject. I'm gonna.
That's funny what he just said.
Yeah, I'm gonna circle back. Tony Robbins is one of those people in American culture where it's so cheesy now, but at the time,
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
like literally no one had thought to like believe in themselves. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like
Dude.
look in the not in America anyway. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure he stole it from somebody, but no one had like done what he's done. That dude is probably like the first generation of copycats of that.
Yeah.
Where like the internet hadn't made that super corny yet. Because like, think about his pitch to a principal or whatever.
right, yeah.
I'm going to motivate these kids. Okay, how you going to do it?
Hi, I look like a horse. Good to meet you.
Yeah. How you going to motivate these kids? Well, I'm going to show them my Jeep and my hot wife.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what he did.
You get the right principal, and they're like, fuck, I wish somebody had told me about Jeeps and hot
Yeah,
wives.
right, yeah. I mean, that is more attainable for sure than like you could make it to the NFL if you don't do crack.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
And also, if a principal doesn't have a hot wife or a Jeep, I could see him being being fooled.
Yeah.
Like, goddamn, I really wish somebody would have intervened on me when I was 14.
Old hell, it sounds like that guy practices what he preaches. He sounds like he hits.
Yeah, but see, I know it
There's
does.
no way he hits
That's
if
what
his
I'm
job is
That's
talking
what I'm
to
saying.
16-year-old
That's what I was
nerds.
about to say. That's the other part of it that behind the curtain is so funny to me is like,
Yeah.
we're comics who do the road. So like, but imagine being a motivational speaker on the road, and,
Yeah.
and instead of comedy clubs, you're going to Clay County High School, Jackson County High School, Morgan County High School, or whatever. Like, imagine that
hit.
version of the life that we live. Like,
But
bro,
not having a hook-
it's got to be brutal.
But not having a hook.
I would imagine.
But I think he's delusional.
Of course he's delusional.
So that-
Yeah,
but
he's
I feel like
he's
sometimes
like
you
a Danny
can be-
McBride character. Or
Sometimes
something.
you can be delusional enough that sadness cannot approach your shores.
That's true.
You have a moat of
Jealous of that.
delusion
Cho,
protecting
it's a
you
shame
from
that
the
Cho's
bullshit.
not that cranked up, on the.
It
Yeah.
depends on
We
which
wouldn't be talking
version
right
of
now.
him there is, dude.
Yeah. Oh man, I'll tell you what else can help motivate you: getting in shape and having a hitting bike. You know what
Yep.
I'm saying? That can make things hit for you. And listen, it's a new year, new you. It's 2024. Whether you're going into this tiptoeing around, pussyfooting as it were, or you're hitting it full throttle, rolling on highway. However you're approaching 2024, electric e-bikes can help you go the distance from commutes to adventures. Riders of all abilities can explore this new year with electric e-bikes. Go to electricebikes.com to learn more about their wide selection of e-bikes that start at just $7.99 with the XP Lite. That's LECTRIC ebikes.com. And tell them that WellRED, the WellRED podcast, sent you. Drew, you've got one of these electric e-bike jobs, don't you? One of these deals here, these bike deals. It's a hit for you.
It is my favorite thing other than my son that I've gotten in a year. It's awesome. And when I first got it, and I've talked about this a little bit, I think I was nervous, like, this is a tiny motorcycle and I'm scared. But it's not. It's just a bike that sometimes you can take a break on. It's just, you're just on a bike doing bike stuff, and then you're like, I need a break. It's got a throttle, but it's not a scary throttle. It's safe. It's awesome. I love it. I wear my helmet. I go to the grocery store. Sometimes I come here on it. Sometimes, because it's got these fat tires on mine, I take it on trails. Not like heavy-duty mountain biking, but like flat trails.
Yeah.
Just past those people running, sweating, running from their problems, running from their dad. I go by them, putting along on an electric throttle. Just look at them, judge them on my electric bike.
Pretty sweet. You can get up to 150 miles on one charge. And just so y'all know, in most states, licenses, registration, inspection are not required, but you should check the laws in your area. So explore 2024 with electric e-bikes, the most accessible and adventurous e-bikes ever. Visit electricebikes.com to learn more, and be sure to mention that the WellRED podcast sent you in their post-checkout survey. That's LECTRIC ebikes.com, and tell them the WellRED boys sent you. Holler at it. All right. And we're back.
The Beta Convention was the first place I was the coolest guy. Because it was like all the
Really?
nerds.
That ain't fucking true.
Yeah.
That ain't true.
All right.
You were the coolest dude at your high school.
No, I was the most popular. That is not the same thing.
Okay. You mean like the dude with the fucking eye rock and,
Yes.
and the jean jacket and shit?
It was it was all us nerds.
Fucking ripping cigs.
It was me and
kicking
Brandon
ass.
Lavender. Yes.
Yeah.
It was me and Brandon Lavender.
Yeah.
So like you were like, did this guy come to your beta? And I'm like, genuinely, all I remember about the beta conventions is like fingering,
Yeah.
drinking.
I thought they were a lot of fun.
They were a blast,
Yeah.
and especially for me because I was the guy who was like, Drew, how are we going to get booze? And I was never that guy.
Right.
I was the guy getting the dude to get the booze.
Yeah.
But like I mean, Brandon Austin, they don't listen because they are cool. They're going to be like, wait a minute.
Right.
It was at least a three-headed monster, and I'll grant you that. We broke a bed drinking and fighting.
Is
and then
Beta Club a nationwide thing? Do people know what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we taped it back together with brown duct tape. Like the bread, it was like particle board. It just fell apart. We put it back together.
Wrecked every hotel room we were ever in at the
Hell
Beta
yeah,
convention
dude.
for sure.
I
Yeah.
bet we were at the same one. Did you do the one at the Opry?
I've never heard of this thing.
Okay,
by the way.
Beta Club was for A and
Betas.
B. What betas? Well, that's what Corey said. He only went to alpha conventions. I never thought about the fact that it was called the Beta Club.
Yeah.
because it was like for nerds. But schools like ours, like Thompson was in it, and fucking like a lot of the hittingest athletes and people and stuff were in Beta Club.
I wouldn't have been the coolest one of your beta club.
But it was
No.
you had It was A's and B's, right? You had to have
certain average.
a certain average, which meant what that average equated to was you had to make all A's and B's, nothing below a B. You had to be an A and B student. If you were an A and B student,
I was wondering why I never heard of this shit.
Yeah, I wasn't. I figured.
Me neither. The kids who made A's knew why.
But yeah, it was for kids who made A's and B, A and B students. You were in the beta club, and every year they'd have a beta convention. Katie was. Katie got elected. You know how they'd have elections there every year for like the state level officers or whatever? Katie was like vice president at the state level and then ran for president and got beat by an Asian kid naturally. And it's wild because all that shit should have happened. We all should have been there when that happened, right? Me, you, and her, I mean.
Yeah.
But I don't remember that.
I feel like you only get to go your junior year. That's what that might explain it for me and you not being there, because your senior year, it's in the summer, you're gone.
Because you're 2 years older than me. You graduated what year?
Oh, fuck.
02. I graduated in 04. She graduated in 03. So if you're right, then we went sequentially.
I think we did, and I think it's because your senior year that summer. I think it's in the summer, right?
I can't remember. I
think senior year, it's like, no, you don't go now. You're on your way to college. And sophomore year, it's like, well, we can't have 15-year-olds down here fingering each other. That's an affront to God. So junior year's the sweet spot.
I remember another thing.
No, it's for juniors and seniors because Cameron was there. Goddamn, I wasn't the coolest guy.
I also got humbled at the beta convention once because, again, as I've said a million times, before I left high school in Salina, or at the time when I left high school in Salina, I literally thought I was Goodwill Hunting. Like I thought I was prodigious, like incandescently brilliant, right?
So I just want to say real quick as a caveat, the only way I've ever been smarter than Trey in my heart, 100% knowing it, is that I was smart enough to know I wasn't that fucking smart.
Right.
Continue.
Well, yeah, I did not. And so I remember at the beta convention, they had all these different, like, I don't remember.
Asians, you already said it.
Yes, and they won everything.
Yeah.
But they had different contests and competitions and stuff. And like our beta counselor, who, you know, the teacher that's in charge of the whole thing, was like, we need somebody to do the spelling bee. Trey, will you do the spelling bee? And I was like, yeah, fuck, I'll do the spelling bee. I don't give a fuck. And I remember going down there, and the first word, I remember the first word was
ostensibly, and that's why you've tried to get it right ever since.
No, bro.
That would be so fucking funny, dude. We had a pretentious origin story.
Ostensibly ain't even in the same universe as this shit. That's my whole point. I go down there thinking I'm hot shit. It's like I can spell words. Fuck. First word, triskaidekaphobia.
Triskaidekaphobia.
Jesus.
Triskaidekaphobia, which is the fear of
the
fear of the number 13 is what that is. Triskaidekaphobia. And
how close did you get?
I don't remember. I didn't just get eliminated on round one. You had to answer all of them. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't just miss the first one.
No, stay up there, bitch.
Exactly. It wasn't like that. It wasn't like the you see on TV with the little Indian kids. It's like
Dre was humiliated.
You write it down. You have to write them all down on a piece of paper like a spelling test. So everybody does it at the same time. So I had to. It was like 12 words, and I don't think I spelled 2 of them right.
That's a more fair way to do it, by the way.
Yes, it is.
You get 11 out of 12.
Right.
But if
So
how many did you get right?
I just said 2 or 3. I got just destroyed, bro.
Me and my friends
I was like, I didn't know they had words like this.
They had a competition. I don't think it was PR.
I bet you could spell all the ingredients on the back of a Sunny D bottle.
Actually,
phosphorus or phosphates?
No, because I famously didn't realize that Sunny D had calories in it until the first time I ever read the back of the bottle, which was when I was 17 years old.
Man,
so,
the mixture
anyway.
of like hubris and intelligence you have.
Yeah.
There was some competition. We had to do something, and me and I want to say Brandon and Austin did. Dude, it was, and Brian was there. I definitely wasn't the coolest guy there. I need to let go of that. I think it was like, it wasn't PR.
They had stuff like that, like, right, like.
Buddy, we came in third.
Yeah.
We were blown, like, some brat had never taken a medal in anything, and it was like, how did you guys do mean? So they had all these weird competitions that weren't just like math or science project. It was a lot more job oriented.
Right. They put you in a group and say, here's
like
a scenario. Here's a scenario. If you were in charge of PR for this company in this scenario, what would you do?
It was something like that. It was like we had to write a press release or some shit.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And we came in third. Yeah. And we were as blown, we were like, oh, hell yeah, dude. stunk, hungover, just like we were bullshitting. You know what I mean? Like, these nerds don't know how to bullshit. The two that beat us did it by the book, and everyone else fucking blew it trying to do it by the book.
In the hotel room, we had a big boy with it, real big boy with us, and big ass country boy too, but who made A's and B's. He was there, and he was in the. They split you up by like fours in the hotel room, and it's four. So me, Thompson, and two other guys who I do remember, but I guess I'll leave them nameless. But one of them was the big boy. He fell asleep first, and we started putting like balancing Ritz crackers on his open mouth while he was like snoring, whatever.
Yeah.
And he started like
a cartoon.
And we were taping this. And in his sleep, he started like gently nibbling on it, like he like flipped it into his mouth and was like barely eating it and stuff. And we were taping this, and then he like rolls over on his side, like snuggles up, and now it's sticking straight out like to the side, like he's holding it in his mouth and still chewing on it while asleep. And then he finally like woke up, and his look of confusion as he had this Ritz cracker sticking out of his mouth, he's like, what the fuck, and then got real pissed. I still remember it to this day. It was very funny. The next day, I got into a screaming match with him at Opry Mills because he was yelling at me that Toby Keith was the best goddamn songwriter that ever lived, and I need to recognize that.
You've had so many Toby Keith-based arguments.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And it was, so yeah.
See, me and you, the same. You won a type of competition, even though you didn't enter it with that tape. I'd love to see that tape.
Me too. I'd give anything if I still had that tape. I guarantee it would still crush. One of the fellers in it, unfortunately, no longer with us.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
So I think this thing in California was called the Key Club.
Oh, I think that's
And I
right.
would get stuff in the mail for that all the time, and I was like, fuck, I'm not joining a club for smart people.
Yeah,
my dad was in the Key
cool
Club, so
it.
maybe that's what ours was called.
Yeah, I think we had to change the name from the Key Club in the South because that's what our swingers call themselves.
Yeah, but isn't that, I was thinking that's what, because he said that, and I was like, for the first time ever in this conversation, I realized that Beta is not a desirable name for a club, especially nowadays. But then he said that was called the Key Club, and I was like, wow, like that's that much better because that's, yeah,
It wasn't
cooler.
Polished. It is cooler. Yeah,
It wasn't a key party.
I know that, but
Yeah.
it's still adjacent.
Yeah.
It's not as direct as Beta Club is. That's for sure.
Yeah, and you got some sort of like gold cord you wore at your graduation.
Yes,
party.
yep,
That's
yep,
right.
yep,
It was absolutely a college thing, like a do this to help your college.
Yeah.
When you do your resume to get into college, this needs to be on there. That's what they told me anyway. That's how they sold me on it.
Yeah, I was in a bunch of those things. I wonder how many of them were scams.
Good point.
You know what I mean? Like I was in that Who's Who.
I was in that
Who's
one.
Who.
My parents
and
paid for the thing.
There was a like a honor society that had a Greek sounding name that was for high school kids that I was in. But all I ever got was like something in the mail. It's like, hey, you're in this, and you had to.
Dude, I went to Boys State.
I know. I didn't
was
do that.
legitimately propaganda.
Oh, I got invited to that.
Dude, it
What was that?
a nightmare. So the American Legion sponsors it, which is like the right-wing version of the VFW, if you can imagine that existing.
Yeah.
And they get involved. I mean, they're very intricate in our government and our system. Basically, they have Boys and Girls State. I think Girls State's ran by a different group. But Boys State, they just treat you like you're in the Army and then make you learn about how the Tennessee state government works. You get up, you march.
Boo.
Buddy, it was one of the wildest weeks of my life. It's where I met Kevin Teets and got to understand the deep, deep, disturbing brilliance of that man. We had our own elections. And Teets was rigging elections at 16 years old.
Yeah.
At 16 years old, he was like, hey, our county's bigger than that county. If we all just do this, we can run shit, and then we'll change all the rules. Him and this other kid had it figured out. The other kid stopped taking his meds when we got there. By day 4, I'm not kidding, I saw the kid running full sprint and have his buddy hit the handicap door button so it'd swing open, and he would jump and dive into it as it swung and dive head first into the handicap door. And we were all like, God damn, man, Aaron is wild as fuck. And we just didn't know about Ritalin and what happens when you come off of it back then.
Sure. Yeah, that's pretty wild.
We voted him governor, so
Yeah, I got invited to that, and when they said in the interview, they're like, "Have you ever thought about joining ROTC, and I was like, "What is that?" And then they said, "Oh,
A ROTC?
ROTC.
ROTC."
Yeah, the Army.
Oh,
I've never heard it
man, I
pronounced
just say it
in the
like
way that rhymes with Nazi.
I know, right?
Yeah,
And I just started
funny.
laughing at them.
Yeah.
Once they explained it, and I was like, "No, I'm
Bro,
gonna
yeah.
go to film school."
Yeah,
I know.
same. I hated
I didn't get
everything about
Me
Boys
too.
State.
Because I took Corey. One of the hitness things about Corey from his high school days that I've heard was when they gave the ASVAB, which was the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, the test to see if you would hit it being in the military. He stood up and was like, "This don't hit, I ain't doing this." And they were like, "Well, we can't make you," and he just left.
Well, for the record, it's because they said that, and they go, by the way, we can't make you take this, and it seems like I was the only one that heard that.
Yeah.
The only time
So
he
I
listened
just
to the
go-
teacher his whole fucking high school career.
And so, but I did take it, and of course, just smushed it, you know.
And then they
completely out
started
the
like
park.
sending
And
you shit.
not just send it. I got hounded by
Yeah,
the
man.
military after that for like even through college. Like they didn't even stop in college, but like
He's poor and
He's
smart.
still poor.
Perfect.
yeah, exactly.
Motherfucker had to go to tech. Look how dumb he is.
Yeah, right. So, but the ROTC thing. Same. When I heard like how that all worked or whatever, I
Yeah,
was like,
so dumb.
"Why the fuck would anybody do that?" Then years later, or not years later, when I was in college, the Navy tried to get me to join this thing, and they didn't do that. They were that was like a part of their whole pitch.
We're the cool.
They were like,
military.
"We don't make you do none of that." It's like you could just be in college, and you know you got to keep your grades up, and we'll give you like $600 a month. Then when you graduate, you got to go to Navy basic training, and then you're in the Navy and naval intelligence or whatever.
Brian was in
But
ROTC.
I didn't do that either.
college. I mean, he was also into finger painting while on cocaine. So, like, you know.
Yeah, but I just don't. They got to get up in the morning and
Yeah, he
Don't
thought
hit.
he was
Make
going to
your
go.
bed.
He
All
thought he
that
was going to
stuff.
go into the military, and then they did help him pay for school, but he got out of that. What the fuck was I going to say before ASVAB? What was we talking about?
just beta
How the Army
club
don't
and
hit.
high school and
Boys State.
Boys State.
Boys State.
Which
I
is how the
wanted to say
military
this.
got brought up.
So they couldn't
Thank
do
you, Aaron.
Republicans and Democrats because that would be like too much.
Yeah.
But they wanted to teach us about how
Patriots and queers. Queers over here. Patriots on this side.
that would barely be more offensive
Yeah.
in retrospect than what they did. It's not offensive, but if you think about it, it's so funny when you think about the state of Tennessee. Our parties were named after famous Tennessee politicians.
Okay.
Who would that be?
Al Gore.
At the time, yeah, Al Gore.
Oh my God. Al
Andrew
Gore
Jackson.
and fucking Old Hickory.
It was Andrew
Andrew
Jackson
Jackson.
and Andrew Johnson.
Yeah.
They both didn't hit.
Yeah, but Andrew Jackson is like deified by a certain
right.
chunk of people, whereas Andrew Johnson, no one thinks he hits.
Right.
Right. He's
But-
like maybe the worst president in the history.
But that's so. But
Of the United
that's what I'm saying. It's like we had to like. Well, all right. One of you is going to be in the camp of the worst president in the history of the United States, and the other one murdered all the Indians.
true,
Yeah.
but neither of them was like soft progressive liberally or anything though. You know
No,
what I mean?
that's
Well, I
my
don't-
point.
You know, that
Like,
was.
it's so-
I thought you were going a different way. With
No,
it
they
when you
weren't
talk
trying
about-
to-
To choose the better one is also choosing the worst
They
one
weren't
somehow.
trying to. Yeah, they weren't trying to right left it. It's just funny to me that they were like, "All right, we got to do the political heroes of the state of Tennessee," and then that's.
I
who
mean, they
it
could have
was.
went with fucking James
Like
K.
Polk?
Polk over Andrew Johnson. He didn't do
Yeah.
shit, but
I
like,
think Jackson and Johnson. You know what I mean? I
they're
think
both
that-
Andrews. Yeah.
I think it was that.
Yeah. Andrew Johnson, he really fucked. You know, it's wild because like he was Abraham Lincoln's vice president, but they hated each other and didn't hit for each
Yeah.
other at all because that's how it used to work, which is like insane in retrospect. 'cause
Dude.
it incentivizes
They
the
were in
other.
opposing parties. Yeah.
Yeah,
To assassinate
that's how
them.
that's what it incentivized. You know what I mean? Like, imagine if fucking Trump was Biden's vice president this whole time.
Oh, he wouldn't have made it a week.
Right.
But that's
Somebody
how
would've
that's how
killed
it
him.
used to work. And then, but like Abraham Lincoln, he wanted him to be the vice president because their philosophy at the time was
Because of the
like,
South.
this will unify people. Like that's how it'll work. But they fucking hated each other. And then when Lincoln died, got shot, he like
What?
just fucked everything up like purposefully because he didn't want any of that shit to happen. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
in,
Right.
in the follow up to the Civil War and everything, he like was openly obstructionist and corrupt and made everything so much worse than it needed to be, and it led to a lot of the horrors of the post-Civil War era South. What we're doing a history lesson for. I wanted to.
You want to talk about?
I enjoyed it.
Well, Cho, didn't you want to talk about inner monologues? Didn't you text me the other day to tell you?
Yes.
To bring up inner monologues.
Yes, I have no further research on it except for to say that Amber.
Yes,
we were just
thank you for bringing it up.
I have nothing.
I like them.
No.
Some people don't.
Yeah.
But I think this will still spark something. Amber and me were sitting there the other day, and she looks over at me, and she goes, "Hey," and I was like, "What?" And she goes, "Do you have an inner monologue?" And I was like, "Amber, that's literally what depression and ADD is. Who the fuck are you asking right now?" Like, yes, of course I do. I said, "Why are you asking?" She goes, "Did you know that like 40%, some new study came out that 40% of people just don't have an inner monologue. Like when they're sitting still, unless they are actively wanting to think about something, it's just a clean slate." And I was like, 40% is fucking wild to me.
I think it goes beyond even that. I have no idea what the percentage is. First of all, very quick anecdote. Same exact thing happened with me and Katie, but like 3 years ago. She came home from running errands or something and had somehow heard some stat about people not having inner monologue. And when she was telling me about it, she was like, "So I heard this, and I was standing in Starbucks. I was thinking to myself, I was like, do I have an inner monologue?" Which is hilarious because that's it. I did what he just did. As soon as she said that, I started cracking up. And she's like, "Why are you laughing?" I was like, "You just... Clearly you do. That's what that is, you know."
But according to the way Corey phrased it, but everyone has that.
No, what I was about to say, when I said it goes further than that, I have no idea what the percentage is. I've read before that some people don't have, like, I don't know what else to call it, an inner monologue, but I don't mean like unless they try to think about something, they're not hearing anything. I mean even when they're thinking about something, it does not take the form of an inner monologue. They don't have... Right. That's not how they think. They can still think of stuff. They just conceptualize it differently. They like just see shit happening or something,
like
or
pictures,
or like pictures, or maybe words, like reading it or something. But it's not like.
Is this related to people who see colors when music plays?
You hear like not hear a voice in your head, but you have an inner monologue. Like there's you know.
And I feel like Corey did when Amber asked him. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I'm saying people.
Well, dude, I don't think people do on repeat for the entire year of 2019.
But some people don't. They don't. Their brains don't work that way, and that's wild as hell to me.
It's really hard.
I can't even conceive of how that must work.
That's what I was
going
to
say.
Say. I almost feel like this is just a semantics thing.
Right.
That they're describing their reality in a way that these dipshit sociologists or psychologists or whoever it was their inner monologue couldn't process. Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe I'm an idiot, but like the picture thing I can maybe wrap my head around. Like, all right, I think in words, you think in pictures.
Yeah.
But like the idea that you don't think in anything is paradoxical.
Right.
It's quite literally unbelievable.
Here's another one that I think it does a similar thing to my brain when I hear it. You know, people that are born blind, again, not all of them, but a lot of people that are born blind, they don't see black. They see nothing. They don't see like you when you close your eyes. Oh, I'm blind now. They don't see like that. They see what your elbow sees.
Right. The brain isn't getting the signals, so the brain's not registering anything.
It's not blackness. They don't see.
I couldn't understand that until you said they see what your elbow sees.
Exactly.
Now, I totally get it immediately.
But imagine that.
You can't.
Right. Yeah. Like, that's crazy.
It like makes me feel a little ill.
Yeah.
It makes me want to jump off something.
Yeah.
But dude, like I was telling Amber, like, you know, let's say hypothetically yeah, but no, but I was like, hypothetically, if that 40% thing is true, like we'll just say that that's true.
That's too high, but go ahead.
Agreed. I'm just saying hypothetically, if it is true, I'm like, I don't see how any stand-up comedian at least could fall in that 40%. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like our job, we would never come up with a fucking joke if we didn't have an inner monologue.
But they say that some people that are like speed readers and stuff, it's kind of a version of that. Because I don't know about y'all, but when I read, it's like I'm basically
saying the words in your head.
Yeah, pretty much. And people that like speed read and stuff, they see all the same words I do, but they don't say them in their head. They just read them without doing that. And so they can just blaze through pages and stuff. And I think that maybe that might be kind of related to not having an inner monologue or something. Do you know what I'm saying?
I wish I could do that.
I do too. I've tried. I can't.
But now I'm back on the picture thing. I can imagine genius engineers not thinking in monologues, but thinking in concepts that are fully formed or pictures or whatever.
Yeah.
But it feels very either or to me. The idea that there's neither is just, it feels impossible.
Yeah, I'm not saying there's neither. It may be either or. I don't know. It may be like, concepts or however you want to put it.
I can sort of get that. It's hard for me to figure out how they form a sentence the way that I'm doing right now.
Right.
But I can sort of imagine in my head, like the idea of like, instead of your inner monologue saying, oh man, I need to buy that flight, you just sort of imagine yourself buying a flight. Mm-hmm. And then you do it. Do you know what I mean?
If I could take a pill that would simply turn off my own voice in my head for hours at a time, I would fucking OD on that shit. That would be amazing.
Particularly the hours of 11 to 12 at night when you're trying to go to fucking sleep.
That's not, man. Andy's like that too. Are you guys both like that?
Oh yeah.
I just go to sleep.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not that bad about falling asleep, but like whenever I'm having trouble falling asleep, it's because my brain will not fucking stop.
I wake up.
I mean, I told y'all before.
I have to anesthetize
I told y'all before.
5 in the morning.
I told y'all before. I read some like techniques for dealing with that. If you have that, which I found do work, like work for me, is I'll like
a dream.
I'll interview myself about in my inner monologue. I mean. About like the TV show I'm watching or something like that, stuff that doesn't matter, right?
Yeah. But it's kind of like when you name stuff when you're having a panic attack.
You're allowing your brain to keep rolling, but it's not all about how you didn't get enough done today. You don't hit hard enough. You're gonna fuck all this up. Instead, it's just about like a show you're watching,
inconsequential,
show you're watching,
shit.
or a book you're reading, or something like that. So it doesn't have the same effect, and then you just and then you can go to sleep easier that way. And that shit does seem to work for me. I do that pretty much every night, actually.
I'm kind of going back a little bit. I use the flight thing as an example because it's something I had to do this morning. I think I just imagined myself buying the flight.
Well,
but
even
now
with
I think
that,
I have
do you mean
both.
you see yourself in your head, like picking up your phone and pushing by on a?
No, I thought
like,
of the Southwest app, but I feel like
chicken tonight. Go ahead.
My inner monologue also was in conjunction with that, saying Andy got a Southwest flight, and then I imagined the Southwest app. Does that make sense? This is really, because I've always been obsessed with the idea of like, what if what I call orange, you perceive as purple,
is blue.
Yeah.
So this is like one of those things where it can drive you crazy thinking about how you just don't know what anyone else is experiencing as far as how reality is constructed. But like, there's got to be some mechanism through which you do process reality and then speak.
Well, I was thinking also about it being either or. I mean, I also picture things. I could picture things if I want to. If I'm like working on a script, I'm trying to think about a scene or something.
Some people can't do that.
I can picture it in my head in addition to hearing the dialogue and talking or whatever. But I guess
think about a real apple, not a cartoon apple right now. Can you do it?
I think
a lot of people can't.
Yeah, I saw that same graph the other day. It was wild.
That is wild. You're talking about orange is purple and all this stuff. You should maybe remember one time I got real high when I was like 19, and I thought I'd figured out. I was such a fucking idiot. I thought I had this like. I got real high and convinced myself that like the language you hear me speaking right now is not actually English. This is the language that we both speak. So if like a person who did not speak English was in here, right, they wouldn't hear anything like what you hear me saying. Like, and I got this idea because I read this girl that moved here from China when she was like 9, and she said when she first went into school in an American classroom when she was 9 years old, English sounded like gargling water to her, like just complete gibberish nonsense. And in my head I was like, how is that possible? You know what I mean? And then like and then that made me start thinking that like I was like, well shit, Chinese kind of Mandarin kind of sounds like that to me or whatever. And then I somehow my leap in logic from that was if you don't speak a language, it sounds a certain way. But if you're speaking with someone in the same language you both speak, then it's like translated into something you both understand or whatever.
That is how language works.
I don't think so.
Yeah, cipher.
Yeah, we're just making noises, but our brains know how to decipher
I don't
them.
think I'm getting across what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
Maybe
you sound either really smart or totally the dumbest person ever.
Well, I said I was real high. That's what happens.
But I don't know which it
when
is.
You get real high.
Yeah, I know.
It doesn't make
it wasn't
any
it wasn't meant to be an accusation.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't know
Have
whose
I
fault
ever
it
told
is.
y'all about my papaw at the Mexican restaurant?
Probably.
Now you're gonna have to narrow that down.
Yeah, right. This happened almost every time, and he genuinely could not understand it. We go to a Mexican restaurant, and the waitress would come up. She'd speak English to us, but then she would be speaking Spanish to somebody else, and he would just. And by the way, it was not in a hateful way. It was in a genuinely curious way. She'd be, no, blah, 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 whatever. And he'd just look at her, and then he'd look at us and go, now, how can she understand that? He couldn't process.
So,
That's
I
so
guess
good.
what I was saying, I don't guess either one of y'all seen the movie The 13th Warrior with Antonio Banderas
I have
from
seen
the
that movie.
90s,
No.
based on a Michael Crichton movie. There's a scene in that where he learns the Viking. He's like a Middle Easterner who goes on to trade with like the Vikings and then ends up going on this adventure with Viking warriors. Or whatever.
Isn't it loosely based on Beowulf?
I don't remember if it's Beowulf, but it's
Ain't
definitely loosely based on some old Norse story or something.
okay.
Anyway, there's a scene in that movie where he like learns at first they're talking all this Viking gibberish, and then it shows this little montage of nights passing and him sitting by the fire and watching
Yeah, I
the
remember
mouth
that
and
scene.
watching
It's
whatever.
rad.
It is super rad, and it slowly morphs from Viking gibberish into
English.
to us English.
Yeah.
But I'm saying I thought that when I was high, I was like, that's what happens for everybody. Like everyone hears kind of the same thing in their head when they speak a language like fully fluently or whatever. Like you go from not understanding it to like then you like conceptualizing it. Like, but if you're a native Chinese speaker, I don't know if what they hear is what we hear Chinese as. I know I'm not making any
I
sense.
think you okay, but I
No, I
do
get
think
it.
you're
It's
onto
kind of like
something.
what my papaw said, honestly.
I think you're onto something though, because they say when you're trying to learn a language, that one milestone is when you dream in it,
Right.
and that is, I think, sort of related to what I think I'm understanding you saying. It's not instant like the movie showed it,
Right.
but you do have to do what you're talking about,
Yeah.
which is be able to fully think in full sentences. That's also sort of the basis of Arrival. And the idea that like learning that language allowed her to see into the future,
Yeah.
because their language was written without present, past, or any tenses.
Right.
It's like the idea that once you can conceptualize, which now we're all high and super heady, but something we can hang on to that is tangible is that when you learn a language, they say a huge milestone is your first dream in it.
Right.
Where you and everyone else is speaking Spanish as an example. That means your subconscious is now, your brain is thinking in Spanish instead of translating English, Spanish into English, which is
Exactly.
what you think in.
Right. Yes.
That is a huge milestone.
Right.
Like when you're trying to learn something.
Right. But do you still... I guess it's that difference between translating Spanish into English and then just knowing it.
Yes.
That
Right.
whatever happens in a person's brain, like at that transition
Yes.
point,
That
whatever,
extra step.
that's kind of the part I'm talking about, I guess.
Well, and that also is there's some interesting stuff in like the linguistic world when it comes to like social issues and politics. The language that is native to you genuinely affects your culture,
Right.
because it is how you think, and that's kind of wild to think about. I mean, just a prime example. I don't know if this is true, but there's been some theories out there that like languages with gender, it's harder for those people to accept non-binary people. Because like their language is gendered.
Yeah, I'm
And
sure.
so
Like
it's
Latina
built,
and Latino.
right. It's built even more into their
That-
brain.
What's kind of funny about that to me, since I'm not from one of those cultures, is it's like, are they also as hard up about like, I don't know, I guess they would be. The idea that like, no, a table is feminine.
Right.
You know what I mean? God damn it.
Yeah.
A table can't be masculine. Because that's
next
how
thing
it
you know,
works.
they'll be saying the window's a girl.
Right, yeah, but that's how it works, right? It's like La Mesa instead of El Mesa, because table is feminine, mesa is feminine.
Yeah, look at table pussy.
At the curves on that table. Yeah.
But anyway, I think that's wildly interesting. That's one of my favorite parts of Arrival is the idea that by learning the language, you gain this new ability.
Yeah.
I think that's cool.
All right.
In a sci-fi.
What other furniture you think is female?
I don't know, boo, but I had this chair that was gay one time.
Yeah, I've had a gay chair.
Yeah. My chair's all hit. I don't know.
You trying to say gay people?
Oh,
don't hit?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the joke. I was trying to be a papaw about it, but I think we're there.
That's a
boys.
papaw.
Okay. So if you want, go to
When
Track
the queer steal your beer and it's mad in your ear, that's a papaw.
That's a papaw.
Oh, I forgot all about that's a papaw. That's funny. We had the actual.
We had that,
we had lines for that.
And we
right?
also had man. I feel like a papaw.
Feel like a papaw.
It wasn't man. It was. I feel like a papaw.
We're funny.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. If you think so, come see me on the road. Go to TreyCrowder.com. Come see me. Next up is Seattle and Vancouver. Coming to you, Canucks. See you there. TreyCrowder.com.
I'm going to be in Virginia with Trey. I'm going to be in San Diego right after that, filming a thing, but you can come see me. I'm going to be in Nashville and Bristol. That's all the month of June. I have not posted that stuff yet, but I will this week. I promise I will announce on my pages Nashville and Bristol. We'll get it going. We'll see yous out there.
bonuscorey.com. That's my Substack. I sure would appreciate if you subscribe to it. Also listen to all the podcasts in the Skewniverse on Tuesday. That's Skews Day, weekly Skews. Then, of course, Gravy Baby with Drew and DJ Lewis and Carmen Morales. Me and Trey have putting on airs. Check that out. And also, thank you all for listening to the WellRED Show. We'd love to stick around longer, but we got to go. Tune in next week if you got nothing to do. Thank you. God bless you. Good night and skew.
Good evening, the internet. I'm here to inform you of the existence of the exciting podcast Putting on Airs.
Is it my time to talk, me lord?
Did I deem it so?
No.
Your express purpose here this evening is to connect with the commoners.
Well, that's why I brought me dirt cabbage.
A cabbage? What on earth is that?
Well, it's like really thick grass that you can eat.
At any rate, Putting on Airs is the podcast where two lowly peasants deign to inform themselves upon the finer aspects of the culture of the betters.
Please like, subscribe, download, tell all your friends, leave us a 5-star review. I'm really trying to change me lot in life.
Skew.
Skew.